So shall I share the screen, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, hi, everybody. And My name is Sulaiman Al-Hasawi. Um, a little bit about me. I'm the founder of ICS Arabia and ICS Rank. I started my journey in OT security when I was a student at Liverpool John Morris University, where I did my PhD in ICS security. The topic was about developing a framework to assess the risk, and I called it ICS Rank, which is the tool I have at the moment. So ICS Rank is actually the research is a bit different and deeper than the tour that currently I will share today with you. The idea of ICS Rank was to develop a risk assessment tool to assess the OT devices online based on open source intelligence. So I just developed some algorithms and used some mathematical equations to do that. But the current ICS rank right now is just used to discover and map the OT devices that are available online, which is like a guide to use along with the Shodan and Zoom Eye and Census and other devices. Well, this is my podcast, ICS Arabia. I urge you to join it because I interview on this channel professional from everywhere in the world. Sometimes I speak in Arabic, sometimes I speak in English. It depends on the guest. So be my guest. This is a little the trendy cartoon. This is ICS rank and ICS Arabia, and that's me. That's how I look normally. This is ICS rank. Well, this is the old look. Now the look is different. If you check it out now, it's a bit different. It has more filters, not just show
So,
them, but so yeah.
Sulaiman, sorry for stopping you. Your presentation is stuck on the first slide, risk vulnerability and cybersecurity control.
Sorry, what I do?
Your presentation is stuck on the first slide.
Really? So what I do?
Yeah. You can go into the presenter mode, then you can shuffle through your presentation one by one.
Whoa,
The
just a
presenter
second.
mode is right at the bottom right
Oh,
corner.
so okay. Oh yeah. So, but they hear me. It's just the slide that stopped, right?
Yeah, yeah,
But they can hear me, right?
yeah. They can hear
Uh,
you and see you.
so what? So how can I shuffle it? Where is it?
Once you go into the presenter mode, uh,
The center mode. Where is that?
it's right where your cursor were before at the bottom.
At the bottom.
Yeah,
And
at the
in the
bottom it
tools.
says not
Oh,
in the tools, in your presentation PowerPoints.
ah. Uh, Optimize. Stop sharing. Pause sharing. Share something else. So is it next to the camera or mic or share or what?
Why don't you turn off your presentation and reshare your presentation with the entire screen on?
Yeah, yeah, sure, sure, sure. So I'll share again. So do you see the slide? ICS rank now?
No, we are seeing it's a document which says www.icsrank.com.
Yeah. Now is it moving?
Yeah, it's moving.
You see the cartoon?
Yeah, now you're seeing it.
Okay. Okay, so that's sorry guys about the technical issue. This is my podcast. I just told you about ICS Arabia podcast. Please subscribe and make sure to follow it, because I normally upload new interviews every 2 weeks or every week, depending on the situation. Okay, so this is the ICS rank, the old version. The new one is different look, and I will have also update it regularly, adding more filters to not just ICS but also to medical devices and IIoT, and there will be other features hopefully in the future. I also write technical articles about OT security. The famous one is OT Hunt, where I document how I discover OT devices on the internet. Please check it out. This is my website, Zero Intech. And this is my GitHub, Selmex. I have some tools there. I also have some OT dorks and some scripts and some guides and how to get started in OT, and some OT models like the gas model I developed myself over the years. So let's get to the topic. So today we'll talk about the cyber incidents and what is vulnerability, OT vulnerabilities and OT risks, technical controls, and we'll do case study and we'll do lab, hands-on, live. I'll do it with you guys. So famous cyber OT incidents, there are many, but I'll just focus on a few. The famous Stuxnet, of course, 2010, which sparked the OT security area or the OT security domain. Otherwise, before that, they didn't care about OT security, but that incident really made everybody pay attention, and it was like a wake-up call. In 2010, Iran was targeted by some government, and they targeted Siemens PLCs, and the malware was cleverly designed that really affected the centrifuge for the nuclear facility. The other one is the colonial pipe that was the OT devices, or the OT network wasn't hit, but the IT network was hit by ransomware, so that stopped the operations, the OT, which affected the operation indirectly, costing millions or maybe billions of dollars in a few days. Also, the Triton malware that happened in Saudi Arabia in 2017. The target was the Triconix PLC, safety PLC. It didn't succeed, but the attack was almost there. But we will explain later more details about Triton later when we talk about threat intelligence. Another interesting attack was the Oldsmar water treatment attack that happened from a remote access. I'm not sure what kind of remote access technology, maybe TeamViewer, but the attacker got the team access and he managed to play with the HMI, playing with the pH values, but he wasn't succeed because there were safety controls in the plant. By the way, I encourage you guys to check out the MITRE website for the metrics for ICS. This is how it looks. It tells you all the techniques and the tactics for the attackers from the initial access to the impact. You can study each technique and it in details, and it will show you what kind of assets are targeted, how they do it, what the software and who did it in the real cases. It's really useful for anybody who's interested to study the threat groups and also to study what kind of attacks target OT. Another one to know about the incidents that happened in the history, or in the history of OT. The ICS Strive, I really recommend it. It's a database, a collection of all the attacks that happened previously. So what is a vulnerability? A vulnerability is a flaw or weakness in a system or process that could be exploitable by threats. So any weakness is a vulnerability. So like what? For example, unpatched PLC, if it has a default credentials, if it has no authentications, a clear text protocol, you name it. These are very common PLCs, and most of them were designed to do to be functional for their own processes. The security back then wasn't a thing. It wasn't designed, so it was insecure by design. But lately, some vendors now starting to consider implementing ICS features in their PLCs. It's out of scope to name which vendor. So this is an example of a vulnerability. Also, if it's not patched, it is a vulnerability, because what patching is solving a problem, solving a vulnerable feature in a PLC or in SCADA or in HMI, etc., etc. So if it's not patched, it's vulnerable. So you have to do something about it. So don't confuse vulnerability with risk, because a vulnerability is an issue. It's a defect, but a risk is the potential that could happen, the probability that a threat can exploit that vulnerability that we talked about. If there is no probability, there is no potential, there is no risk. So risk is a threat likelihood multiplied by impact. In the risk, you have to study the threat that is available. You have to study if there is a vulnerability, and what is the likelihood that it could be, that if this could be exploited, and what is the impact. This is how you measure risk. Okay. For example, let's see a risk example. A remote attacker manipulates water pH at a treatment plant. So this is a risk, a real risk, because there is a vulnerability. There is a threat agent that so the equation is complete, and the impact is severe because he's playing with the process. Okay, so what are the common ICS vulnerabilities? Well, there are many, but to point a few, they are legacy systems. Most of them are 20 years old, 15 years old. They have very low specs, very low memory, weak protocols, unpatched firmware, you name it. And most of them were air gap back then, because when internet wasn't introduced, or the local Ethernet wasn't introduced, that's how they started. But now the story has changed since the OT environment started to connect with the IT environment. Then the issue is starting to arise. So another issue is the insecure protocol. For example, Modbus and DNB3, you can just cut if you attack those protocols, and by giving them commands, by reading or writing, they will respond to you because they don't authenticate you. Also, the protocol is a clear text, meaning that you can read the packets if you are intercepting those packets through middleman attack or Wireshark or whatever. Another vulnerability exists in ICS is they don't have authentication, just like I said. And most organizations, they use the default credentials, unfortunately, which is also a vulnerability. And also the architecture, they don't have some. I'm not saying all of them, but some of them don't have, or many of them don't have a secure architecture, meaning like flat, because once you are in the OT network, you can just go from device to device, and it's like an easy target. So this is it's called lateral movement. It's easy to go there and jump there. So there's another vulnerability. The poor remote access, it means it's not secure enough. It doesn't, for example, maybe there are no controls over this remote access. For example, it doesn't indicate if the attacker is, if the user of this remote access is the real one, the real engineer who's doing the maintenance or not. It doesn't. Maybe there is no multi-factor authentication. Maybe you just it allows you to join the OT network anytime and without limitation, without role-based access. So there are many issues that could be come from the poor remote access. So you have to solve these. So this is another vulnerability. Also the human error, because if the staff aren't trained or they make mistakes, it's also a vulnerability. And many the OT attacks happen from the insider threat, as a matter of fact. Okay. Also, some plants I've seen. If you visit them, they don't have very strong physical access. Meaning you can access the room, the cabinets, the workstation, engineer workstation, which is a big issue. I'm not saying everybody don't have secure physical access, but this is one of the vulnerabilities as well. So it has to be solved. Supply chain threats. If you remember SolarWind attack, this SolarWind is this software is used by many IT and OT, I think, companies. So the software, the update, the code in the SolarWind was manipulated by some attackers, and it was pushed to all the systems that use this SolarWind, and eventually the attackers managed to access many networks through this SolarWind. So even if you are safe, maybe your who's supplying you the software isn't safe. So this is like a backdoor. Another issue that ICS also has the lack of visibility logging. Many of them they don't know if there is an attacker in the network or not until it's too late. And there are many incidents that happened, and they found that the attackers were there for months. There is a study. They say there is an average of 3 months to be for the attackers to be discovered. Also, the misconfigurations. This is a vulnerability. It's not enough to install a PLC and its web interface and leave the open port unused, or to expose it to the internet. Or if you have a bad firewalls and you don't configure the firewall well, or your router or whatever. So also the misconfiguration is big and very common in the OT domain. For the resources, if you want to get an idea of what kind of vulnerabilities exist, and if you want to study them, I recommend the 3 resources. The CISA, of course, is very famous. You can search by vendors or by military attack or by industry. It's progressing. Another resource is this one, the ICS advisory project. It's like built on this, but it has like an easier interface. Like you can see, it's quite practical. Also, another one that attackers use, the exploit database. You can find vulnerabilities, exploits. Sorry, and you can see here some Siemens exploit that exist. So I don't recommend you to use it. Okay, so now we finished from the vulnerability. Let's go to the some risks that are available. There are many types of risk. One of them is the operational. So if a disruption happen because or malware, whatever that affects the productivity and the operation, this is operational. So this kind of risk exists, and this jeopardizes the safety and availability of OT system. This is a very serious risk. Also, we have the safety incidents that also affect for example, the Oldsmar, that the attacker tried to affect the water, by changing its pH, and the Triton also by targeting the safety PLC is a kind of safety risk, operational as well. And there is the environmental one that that can happen from nature, earthquakes, floods, maybe animals, insect, bird, maybe a mouse will bite your cable. You never know. Also, there are the financial one. The financial one is very serious as well for the business and for the OT, indirectly, of course. And there is the espionage. Imagine you are a pharmaceutical company, for example, and they attack your IT network. Even if they don't attack your OT, if they steal your recipes or whatever, this could affect maybe the whole organization. Even so, there will be no OT because the business is gone. Also, another one that I just explained lately is this is also kind of risk because if the supplier has a vulnerable code and there are attackers that use it, so this is a risk. Okay, so how do we solve this? How do we solve it? What controls should we use? There are many, but just let's say some samples of controls. One of them is the risk management framework. Is you have to make a risk assessment before you start implementing controls. Risk assessment, you have to identify your assets, you have to identify the vulnerabilities, you have to make asset inventory, then you start to implement, and you have to evaluate the risk and the impact, and then after that, and you decide what is risky, what is not, then you start to go ahead with the controls and the protection. Also, you have to have a policy. I mean, maybe I'll leave this to the next lecture with Shiv because he will talk more about the standardization. This is the asset inventory I just told you about, which is very important as a first step for any organization wanted to secure its plant or organization. Also, you have to train the staff because, as I told you, it's the weakest link even if you have very secure organization, but your staff are weak. So this is your weakest link, and the attackers know that. So they target the humans through phishing, through USBs, whatever. Also, you have to manage the supply chain risk. For example, now there is a trend 2 years ago about the SBOM security. So I think they are caring about this by trying to inventory of what as software are being used in a product. So you don't want to have another SolarWind attack. Also, there are nice controls proposed by SANS, the top 5 one. I'm going to borrow them. The visibility, because most organizations don't have monitoring. If you don't know what's going on in your network, I mean, this is a really bad situation. And I'll tell you why they decided to use 5. They mentioned because those 5 are very common and many attacks that happened because of those missing 5. So they proposed those 5 based on threat based research. You need to have a defensible, secure architecture, having segmentation, zoning. You have to architect this securely. You have to DMZ zone, how many firewalls you have, how many jump hosts you have, access control, role-based access control, etc. And then you build up this architecture. The Purdue model, I didn't mean it's a secure. I mean, you have to secure the Purdue model because the Purdue model is not a security function. It's a logical function to tell you how the OT processes work. Also, very important to secure the remote access. You have MFA, jump, GE, host, etc. And you have to decide what time they can join, and if you log and monitor who's joining through remote access. There are many good solutions out there that provide these services. Also, the risk-based vulnerability management. You don't just pick any vulnerability you see in the database. Oh, I have a vulnerable device in my assets. No, you have to make it based on the risk, because if it has no risk on your environment, on your processes, then you don't have to give it priority. So you have first to start with the risk assessment, decide what is risky really and what risky asset you have. Then if they are vulnerable, then you start to make decision, not just this is not IT. If there is a vulnerability and a patch, go apply the patch. No, you have to decide if there is if it really affects the risk. Of course, the fifth control is the ICS incident response. Most of well, my interview with one of the Dragos staff in my channel, she told me that many organizations, they don't have incident response plans. So I think it's very important. It's better to have your own team, so you know how to respond to a cyber attack rather than borrowing external. I'm not saying you don't borrow, but it's best to have your own in-house incident response team. Okay, the other controls, of course, the whitelisting. You have to decide who's authorized to use your system, who's not, etc. Also, the authentication. Don't use the default credentials. Change the password as when you have them from the vendors. Make them a bit hard. Implement role-based access. So even if you are authenticated, you just don't know. You cannot touch everything, even if you are the engineer yourself. So it's good to have role-based access control. Also, the Stuxnet was hacked because of USB flash. So you have to be careful implementing policy for using removal media. Physical security controls, lock the doors, have the badges, have the camera, whatever, biometric. Backup, of course, because this is the best. This is the most important thing. If you get hacked, or if anything wrong happens with the process, you have your own backup. Of course, endpoint protections. Use what's best for your network. Also, another practice or a framework of securing your network is zero trust. I have two interviews in my channel, one in Arabic, one in English, about zero trust. Please be my guest, because we go in depth into how to use zero trust. Okay, so let's study a real case, risk assessment, real case based on TRISIS. So the TRISIS happened in Saudi Arabia. The Triconix PLC, the safety PLC, was targeted. They tried to change the logic to disable it. The PLC was in run mode, in the program mode. So they were able to program it. That's another tip. Don't leave your PLC in program mode. Leave it in remote mode if you run mode if you're not using the PLC for programming or maintenance. When you study an attack, so this is how it looks. The Triconix. It's a big. And if you go to the MITRE matrix, this is the group that attacked that used the malware. It's called Xenotime, and this is their ID in the MITRE. And make sure to study this, and you know what industry they target and what their techniques are. It's good for blue team. They try to disable the physical safety. So you gotta analyze the attack, and you see how they jumped in. They attacked the engineering workstation, and etc. So this is the ICS metrics. You can see, study their TTPs, how they used in the TRISIS. So the lesson learned. Why I'm saying this is you study the techniques of attackers, so you can implement them in your OT network by following each stage, each attack stage, and securing each stage. So you do protection based on real attacks. Okay. So we have to rush. So let's do lab time. In the lab time, we'll see how how we find default credentials for OT using Checklist or Strangelove, and also Google. We'll also discover OT devices on the internet using search engines and Google hacking. This is one of the projects that provide. This is quite old, but maybe you will find some valid credentials still being used. And search engines that we're going to use: Shodan, ZoomEye, and ICS Rank, my tool, and so also Google. And this article of mine, I showed how to find water systems on the internet, and this one got it was featured, or not featured, was mentioned in Security Week magazine, because I managed a little bit to attribute the attacks to to some of the exposed systems. So because, as you know, using those search engines, Shodan and Census, you cannot attribute what companies using this, because most of them use ISVs. But some techniques I used here, I managed to a little bit find some organizations, which check out my article how I did it. This is me. If you want to follow me, this is my Twitter, this is my YouTube, and this is my LinkedIn, and this is my TikTok.
Dr. Suleiman,
Sure.
Dr. Suleiman, the poll is ready. Whenever you want, let me know. We can launch it.
Sure. Yeah. Okay. Just so I'm done with the article. With the presentation. If we have time for the lab, I mean, I hope so. But
Yesterday, Dr. Suleiman, I received so many requests from people, and most
yes,
probably today also will be receiving, that we will need a separate session with a hands-on on ICS rank for sure. And in coming future, we will plan this thing as a separate session completely. It will be hands-on. For now,
sure,
let's run this poll and then we can go for question answer. Okay,
sure.
Mimuna, I'll need you to help with the second poll.
So, are you able to see the results?
Yeah, I see the result. Yes, still voting.
Today in our audience, there are many people who are working on the end user side as well, already in OT environment. So we have one more poll which will be coming after this. So friends, we will be using these inputs to basically make our next sessions accordingly.
We'll wait 10 more minutes, and afterward I will end the poll.
You need to say 10 seconds, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Done. So I think over to you, Salman. Again, let's address the question answer session.
Yeah, sure. So I answer any question randomly or what?
I think you should quickly glance and in short, if you can answer. If it is a long one, then we will answer them in a chat separately.
Yeah. Yes. Okay. Okay. So there is a mechanism in OT for safety to design more safe systems like Cell 3, Cell 2. I'll leave you to Shiv maybe because he will do this in the IEC 6 that's standard. Okay. What are the way? Let's start from, early. Uh, okay. Any recommendation for IT, OT SOC? Well, no, not really. I don't have any recommendations, but why not? Uh, I have an article in my blog that explains what tools you have to set up visibility, including the SIEM and SOC. So please check it out.
And to add to that answer, if you guys want to get it done, I'm there. This is my job, my business. You can pick the call
Yep.
and tell me.
Go to Rakesh. Yeah. Okay. Your ICS rank available in public? Yes. ICSrank.com. How can we identify if a PLC is in run program mode using OT monitoring tools? Uh, I don't know. I'm not sure. Any AI effect you see in implementations of ICS in OT? Maybe they use, machine learning, most of the time to study correlations, detections, any faults in the devices. There are many uses. How can we implement NIST 82? Then this is the next session for Shiv. He's talking about standards. The engineer himself, he can see if it's run or program mode. He can see it himself through his machine or software, or maybe if you go physically, there is like a button or a key. It depends on the vendor. How do we secure a factory machinery which is running in our distribution center but completely managed by vendor, provides local network and on? So my company network node factory. How do we secure a factory machine which is running in our distribution but completely managed by a vendor? Well, if it's managed by him, then you should talk to him and discuss how you will secure the network and his access to you, and what permissions he has, what not, etc. You have to develop this. To develop maybe a policy with him or incident response plan with him. Thanks for the session. Okay, assemblement. Guys, for the standard questions, please leave them to the next session.
Friends, if you are not able to answer all of your question, we will reply you on the chat later, whichever Suleiman can address. Other than that, we will also reply you in some time.
Can you share any template for GCS system assessment for implementation? Right now, I don't have, but maybe Rakesh has. Talk to him. How can we integrate SIS in industry, and is there any additional monitoring system for SIS? How can we segregate, sorry, SIS industry? Is there an additional monitoring system? I'll leave it to Rakesh. Maybe he will can help you with that, because
Yeah,
he does
and
this.
meanwhile, I
He
see
does.
here, I see some questions about careers and all, so it will be addressed by our next trainership
Yeah,
in towards the end of the session.
yeah. So
And
if
for
you want to
sure,
ask me,
there are
yes,
many. Yeah, sorry to interrupt. There are many questions which is related to actual labs, real life labs, and all those things. So we will be having the hands-on section very. It will be very near. Maybe you can expect next month. All these hands-on session, creating the labs, having virtual scenarios, creating real world attacks, all these things will be coming in next coming months, and we will be updating you on our LinkedIn channel.
yeah. So
Saman, there is one question that
yeah,
if the ICS system are air gapped, then how can
yeah.
it affect the OT cybersecurity? That is one of the question which most of the end user will ask. So,
How can it affect? Sorry,
what
what?
is your opinion? If the industrial control system are air gapped,
Yeah.
other than physical security, why do we need any other OT cybersecurity controls?
Well, because the air gap is right now in this world, in this currently is a myth. This is not my opinion. This is opinion by many experts, because you will need to, I mean, interact with these devices to upgrade them, whether you or the vendor. So you will need one day to open a port or access to to the engineer or your vendor, and you never know what will happen from the vendor machine. So
Yeah.
yeah,
And to just add, I'll give you one experience. I went to one of the customer without naming it. Uh, he was asking the same question to me that my system is air gapped and we don't need any cybersecurity controls and all those stories.
mm,
But I knew in past, whenever there is a troubleshooting or the machine is down, the
yeah,
OEM, the vendor is in Europe, and they are giving the online remote access to the vendor and they are doing online troubleshooting. So I asked, okay, you said that it's air gapped, but whenever it's a troubleshooting, you are giving the access remotely online, unsecured access. And that was the point when he thought that yes. And then now he's my customer and we are providing services for OT cybersecurity.
okay, yeah. I mean, you cannot be 100% isolated. You cannot. Also, I know an organization. I'm not gonna mention its name. It's a little bit air gapped, but at night, some employees they don't have any education about cybersecurity. They put their adapters, the network adapter or USB or whatever, in the one of the control machines, and they access the internet to watch a football match or whatever.
In many of
So,
the places, yeah.
so and they caught them. I heard that they caught them, and they knew who was accessing the internet from those control machines. in OT environment or devices, how you are connecting them for endpoint security. Yeah, I mean, it depends. I mean, what the kind of devices you're talking about, and what layer you are talking about. Layer, what? Layer 1, layer 2, 3, 4. I'm not sure. So because the question is very, very vague, you know, and so it really depends. It really depends. Recommendations. Recommendations on network tapping, span ports. Well, there are pro and cons for the span ports and the other one. It depends on what the engineers, the facility allow you to do. But some of them, sometimes some of them miss traffic and some of them don't miss traffic. It depends on the methodology that's available to you by the engineers. How do you manage the server security of SCADA and data historian? Well, make sure that make sure they are in the Purdue model. Make sure they are there. Nobody has access to them. For example, from the IT network, and also maybe put some alerts if there are any values that's been changed that they're not authorized. Well, there are many things actually. Okay, guys. The lab. Yeah, guys. I just want to tell you, I'm not an engineer, so I have a background in computer science, so my strength in cybersecurity is more than being knowledgeable a lot about OT, OT, like an engineer. I mean, I have some experience, but not like an engineer because this is not my specialty, not what I do. So I noticed that many questions here are very focused towards OT and not just security OT. So forgive me if I don't give you detailed answers like an engineer, control engineer, or zero trust in OT. Is it really achievable? I don't think so because it's a process. You cannot say I'm zero trust certified. So it's a process. It's like a journey. You apply and you improve and you change and you have targets. You cannot. It's like doing cyber security for the whole organization, but you cannot do it at once. It's just a framework. So it's not a goal by itself. It's a methodology. It's a framework. Yes, ICS in the future Purdue model. Yeah, where does SIS fit in the Purdue? Normally level 2. But it's preferably to be separate than in another zone than the other PLCs. So if somebody has access to the PLCs, an attacker, he cannot control SIS PLCs. So, but it also depends from organization to organization. Is it possible to integration for quantum technology? Wow, this is nobody talked about it. Quantum and ICS. I have no clue. I mean, but how are they gonna apply it in ICS and OT? I'm not sure. Quantum, really. I don't think OT is ready now for quantum. So I think it's too. Maybe, yeah, cryptography, maybe, but still, even encryption in OT is not as simple as you imagine. You know, there are precautions. Most common tactical techniques to resolve the issues in OT. I just mentioned them in my the controls. These are one of the techniques to secure OT. What are your expectations regarding the impact of AI-driven attacks? AI-driven attacks on the ICS OT cyber. Well, they're gonna make their jobs easy. I think the AI-driven chat attacks because they might provide some information for the attackers, not necessarily accurate, but it will help them to develop scripts and exploits maybe, and it will speed it up, maybe speed up the develop tools and exploitation, which might and to also to detect vulnerabilities in the code if they have access to the code of the PLC or whatever. So yeah, there are many usage applications of AI that could help the attackers and the defenders. So yeah, I think it will have there could be an impact.
Dr. Sivan, I will
Yes.
request that if there is any other question left, we will address it offline. Now we have to go to the next
Okay.
trainer session.
Thank you all. Thank you. Thank you. And
Mr. Lee Chung, you have raised your hand. If you can message that question in the chat, we'll be able to answer you because we are just about to start the next session. Thank you, Suleiman, so much for this
thank you, Rakesh.
session.
Sure.
We will, Vipana, can you add Shiv?
Yes, Shiv is already an organizer. He can share his screen now. Shiv, can you hear us?
Oh, okay, he's already in. Hey,
Yep.
hi, good evening, Shiv. So I leave it to you, Shiv, from here.
Am I audible now?
Yes, clear and
Yes.
loud.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Rakesh, Momina, and thanks for organizing this one. I hope a lot of people are actually expecting to get some insight and career. And I was listening to Suleiman, amazing insight. Of course, Suleiman, it's always pleasure to listen to you.
Thank you.
Yeah, so my topic is basically a sum up of, what are the possibilities, the standards, and possibly the career advice. I was seeing that some of the people are already asking about the career opportunities. So I have already written many blogs on it, but yeah, I will also be discussing some part here. Okay, I think to share, I have to enable my screen share and it might require me to rejoin. Let's try if it works. Otherwise, I have to quickly disconnect and rejoin. My apologies for that.
Shiv, are you able to present your screen?
Now I think it should be visible. Is it visible now?
Yeah, it's visible now.
The presentation, right?
No, we are seeing your Chrome at the moment.
Yeah, in the Chrome only, right?
Yeah.
The presentation is in the Chrome itself.
Okay.
Sorry, I think I'm using this application for first time, and when you use the application for first time, you need to give some rights to share the screen. Okay, yeah, so sorry about the hiccup. Yeah, let's quickly get into the content. And what I'm going to talk about is some OT security compliance standard, and then an overview of career options in OT security. So without further ado, let's two different topics. How about the OT security landscape? We'll discuss in the compliance and standard part. IEC 62443, one of the golden standard. The other regulation and standard like NERC CIP, which is specifically applicable to North American utilities. Then bit about the standards like NIST IS and ISO. NIST actually gives a very good guideline, and ISO standards are also applicable to the program management and OT security as well. So a lot of the IT security policy procedures can then be extrapolated to the OT security part as well. So there is a good resource available from the ISO side as well. On the carrier side, we'll see what are the different carrier options available, how is the market growing, some skill and certification, and then also when you visualize that career options are there, but the industry is also growing or not, what could be your professional growth look like if you get into the OT security? So quick statistics about the industry. I pull up some report from this year, and around 2,472 ransomware attack were experienced in Q1 itself. This shows that the trends are actually on the upward side. Almost 73 organizations on the OT side, they have experienced some intrusion on their environment. And still the USB related threats are one of the prominent type of threats in the industry. So these kind of low hanging issues still shows that There is no proper hygiene, there is no proper talent available, awareness available in the industry, and we are still seeing this very basic kind of threats based on USPs. On the market growth and projection side, there is an upward trend. I pulled up the report on the statistics. The industrial security market in 2024 was close to 20 billion, and it is ought to grow at an annual growth rate of around 16%, 16.5%. And by 2033, the market is ought to grow by 82 billion. So why this number is showing in the standard and carrier discussion is because when the market will grow, then of course the opportunities to cybersecurity carrier will also grow. And that's what these numbers are actually showing. More and more regulations across the globes are being formulated and implemented. And when the regulations will come and standards will come, there would be a demand increase in the talent. This is already happening in the Middle Eastern area. All the countries actually are having their own standards now, and with the growing requirements of compliance with these standards and regulations, the talent demand is high. The similar thing is there in Singapore. This is slowly picking up in the Malaysian region. India, there are one specific guideline available for power sector. This will get converted to a regulation very soon. And once the regulation is there, there would be huge demand in trainings, huge demands in talent, and huge demand in consultants as well. Europe and US are, of course, is the major market. Nothing much to talk about them. Now, if you talk about the major standard of OT security, there are four major standards available. IEC 62443 is one of the most prominent standard. It actually have 5 different security level 0 to 4. So level 0 basically means no security. Level 4 means the highest level of security. There are basically 4 different type of documentation available in IEC 62443 suite. And there are general documentation on what the standard is, what is the key terminology, the key architecture schema, basic knowledge of industrial control system. Then there are policy and procedure part, which talks about how the cyber security policy and procedure should be for operational technology security. Then system level security is there. How an ICS system, like let's say you are actually building a substation automation system. So what kind of security the substation automation system should be. And then finally, you see component written here. Component is nothing but a product. The product could be a PLC, an IC, an ID, or a network switch, or an operating system, or an application, anything of that sort. So basically, product to system to the policy procedure to the definitions of industrial control system. All is covered in IEC 62443. And even though most of the people call it like a standard, but it's not a standard alone. It is a series of documentation which have standards, technical specification, and technical report. What does this mean is you have some part of this series of document that addresses your people part, some part addresses the process part, and some part of this addresses the technology part. Or 3 part of cybersecurity, people, process, and technology addressed through standards. And then there are specification that how would you use the document for your specific context, as well as the best practices through different reports. Then we have NERC CIP, very, very focused standard for North American utilities, Canada and US primarily. Very, very strict, very, very focused on power sector. And there are penalties up to 1.3 million if the requirements and the regulation is not followed. That's why the entities generally in the North American region would follow the standard. Very focused on power sector, but there would always be reference between these standards, cross reference between these standards, IEC 62443 and NERC CIP. Then we have NIST framework. NIST cybersecurity framework is there, which actually recently got an update, and now there are 6 different categories, starting from the governance part, that how would you actually govern your cybersecurity program, then identifying what is this resource or the system that you want to focus your security effort on the one of the categories, protection, then there is a detection, respond, and recover. So earlier there used to be only 5. Now the governance is taken out, and then it has overarching category for putting up the cybersecurity program. Based on the NIST, there is also a documentation available. NIST 882 is the name of the series, specifically focusing for industrial control system. It gives a lot of diagrams, lot of schemas to understand how an industrial control system looks like, what kind of different architectures are possible, and what should be your security concerns according to this NIST cybersecurity framework and the categories and subcategories discussed in the guideline. ISO actually has a very, very famous standard, also known as Industrial Information Security Management System, ISMS. It also talks about people, process, technology, physical security, and other element. And some of the organizations who are already following this standard for their IT infrastructure, they can actually use this standard to extend for the OT infrastructure as well, with the slight change in terms of focus, not on the confidentiality, but the safety of the equipments and keeping the plant running. That mapping is also available with 62443, the policy procedure tier. There is one section 2-1 specifically talks about the cybersecurity program. Currently, last year itself, this section of the standard is revised, and it's called as security program according to IC 62443. And instead of 4 categories that you see in 27,001, there are 8 different program elements that are there and designed primarily for cybersecurity for industrial control system. So this is a breakdown of 62443. I mentioned 4 tiers. This is approved series of standard, and general tier talks about the general concept models, the glossary, the system security conformance metrics, and also the life cycle analysis. So not all of these documents are currently available. Some of the documents are just announced and they are still under development. Some of the documents are already available. And also there is an ongoing improvement that is happening apart from these 4 swim lanes that you are seeing: general, policy, procedure, system, and components. There are other 2 swim lanes currently under development. One is for using 62443 for specific profiles. It's called profile tier. And then the latest one is for conformance, using some sections of 62443 for specific conformance. So yeah, it's a mixture of standard and specification and reports. 4 different security levels are mentioned, because level 0 means no security. So theoretically there are 5 security levels, but practically if you are implementing security, there are security level 1 to 4 available to us. These security levels are technical security requirements. So all the parts of the standard which are focusing on the technical side, the security levels will be applicable there. You can see here that this one, IEC 62443-3-3, talks about system level security requirements, and there is also 4-2, which is technical security requirement for components. So these 2 parts of the standards, the security levels are applicable. And there is also one section to calculate the security levels, which is security risk assessment and system design, 3-2 part of the standard. A detailed procedure is given in this standard to actually calculate what security level is applicable for industrial control system. So entire standard is actually designed as a risk-based series of document. It first emphasizes on identifying what is your risk, and then it talks about how are you going to actually address those risks. This is a one architecture that is basically a simple showcase how are you going to implement the principles in an actual industrial control system through different segmentation. Not actually is a one solution that could fit everywhere, but just an example reflecting some of the principles of IEC 62443, like keeping a redundant or set of networking infrastructure where you have a ring structure, then also segmenting your different zones, like your control zones and segmented from your enterprise zone through firewalls, and within your specific cell or network also you are keeping the redundancy, the safety controller and other systems according to the principles of security level requirements. Just an overview taken from a white paper published by Schneider Electric few years ago. NERC CIP on the other side, it actually, as I mentioned, it covers the North American electric grid. There are 11 different controls. CIP basically means critical infrastructure protection. Maximum penalty, as I mentioned, is around $1.3 million. Some of the key sections of these 11 different standards are important, and one of them is like categorization of your bulk energy system, BES. What kind of cybersecurity is required? You first categorize those systems as critical system, non-critical systems, high risk systems, low risk system, that kind of thing. Then there are security management and control, which is similar to your cybersecurity program or your cybersecurity management system. Defining your electronic security perimeters, very much similar to, if you are aware about IEC 62443, it's very much similar to your security level zones and conduits. Then your cybersecurity management, the configuration and change management. Configuration and change management, very important part of your critical infrastructure security. So a specifically dedicated section is actually designed here. And at the last is the protection of the information that is flowing in the grid through your meter data, or could be your consumer data, or your grid control data that is flowing between your substation and control system, and from control center to possibly your enterprise system and grid management system. NIST framework mentioned already. There are 6 different categories: identify, protect, detect, respond, recover, and govern. In identify, we basically develop the understanding what are the cybersecurity risks associated with the people, the assets, the data, the capabilities. We primarily will do asset management, understanding the business environment, putting a business rationale. Why do we actually need a security for one particular system? And then we also map this with the governance part. Protection is basically developing your appropriate safeguards, security countermeasures, ensuring that the critical infrastructure is up and running. Availability is of most important focus over here. Some of the area that are of focus is access control, giving people appropriate awareness and training, and then also the data security for the critical information that might be flowing. Then we have a detect part, which is to develop and implement activities so that an occurrence of cybersecurity event is detected. It could be through your anomaly detection system, your continuous monitoring, SIEM, IDS, and your security logs, those kind of things. Of course, awareness of people will also play a very important part, that people should be able to identify and notify if then security event is happening. Then we have respond part, which is to develop the security countermeasures. If something goes wrong, we can actually address those issues. Security incidents are inevitable, even if with the highest level of security. Security is not absolute. It is an ongoing process. You cannot just say that today I have designed security level 4 compliant system according to IEC 62443, and I can sit back and relax. That's not how the cybersecurity things works. It is a continuously evolving landscape. New threats are discovered, new ways of attacking a system are discovered. Then we have a social engineering attacks possible, where you can actually entice some of the employee to reveal some information, and then it could be actually detrimental for you. So to respond in time, there is a response planning that is essential. Communication to different stakeholders is essential. An analysis of an incident or an event is very important. Recover is something goes wrong and you are put up your response function to act. Still, you want to actually ensure to have the capability that what if our response function fails, what is our fallback capabilities. So basically keeping your backup and also putting up the guides procedure which are repeatable and you can recover your system from that one incident. And governance, it's on the top of this, which is basically establishing the program, monitoring it, the risk management strategies, what are your organizational contexts, putting up different KPIs, continuously assessing it, and the strategies which are actually approved by the management of the organization. ISO is very much popular part of the standard. It's primarily used in IT systems. It has also policies, risk management, your supplier relationships. It also explains the terms and conditions of employment. Whenever you join a new organization, you basically go through the IT cybersecurity training, which could be a basic to advanced training. Primarily, these things are governed by your ISMS 27001 kind of standards. It also discusses physical security part, your procedure part, technological controls, same like cryptographic controls or system security, access control security. Additionally, there are some documents are also there. CIS benchmark is there, which can be used to do a specific asset level security like system hardening guideline. And then we have the COBIT standard, control objective for information technology. IEC 62443 I already have mentioned, and the cybersecurity management system security program in 62443 suites actually has a very good mapping across the 27001 controls. Let's take a quick poll now. How many of you were aware about these standards? I will just launch it. Maybe you can quickly show of hands. Are you aware of all of them? Okay, so I'm seeing most of you are actually giving the votes to IEC 62443, and which is quite obvious. This one being one of the most sought after standard. The industry is actually using this one in multiple geographies, applicable to different types of operational technology, ranging from your power sector to your maritime security to your railway security. It's one section that is applicable to all type of operational technology and actually globally available for different entities to consume. All right, I see 62% of you have voted for IEC 62443. This shows that you're already is familiar with this section, one particular section of the standard. I've also put up some key implementation strategies. If you are new to this one, some of the focused approach that could be there for implementing a compliance standard or security standard for IEC 62443. Some of the section that you should be focusing is the network segmentation. IEC 62443 talks as a basis for cybersecurity implementation, and zones and conduits are the building block for this. And other standards or compliance regulations also generally will talk that you should have a proper network segmentation and then possibly have a capability to segment your network when the incident do come. Then also continuous monitoring. Now we have OT specific threat detection and security operation centers being put up. Another strategy to do continuous monitoring. Risk assessment is the base. Any security effort requires a very strong or robust risk assessment methodology to identify what is at stake and what will go wrong if we are not implementing proper security. Since cybersecurity is a number in the accounts book of the organization, So we basically need to identify what level of security is appropriate, and hence there are security levels in IC 62443. If your risks are low, then you will basically put a lower security level, and if your risk is high, then you will put a higher security level. There are recently been zero trust architecture discussions are also going on. Of course, few people might debate that this might not be a working model for OT infrastructure, but there are still some POCs available for some areas, specifically the DMG, the remote connect, those kind of solutions, and they provide really good value in terms of granularity of monitoring what is happening in the plant and how can you monitor when somebody is getting access to your infrastructure from outside. People being the weakest link, regular cybersecurity training and awareness of people is also very important. Very often than not, it is somebody either insider or a third party contractor. They might make a mistake, and because of those mistakes or unintentional action, there may be a possible cybersecurity attack that could happen on the organization. Some examples could be posting a picture with credentials, or maybe not closing a firewall port which is exposing your infrastructure on internet. Recently, the Dragos report for Q1 has come up, and one of the biggest challenges basically close to 185,000 devices are still connected to internet. And the question is not like you will be able to remove those things. These things are ought to happen, but the capability that you would have that understanding of if somebody who is actually trying to attack, what actually you are going to do in terms of first identifying that attack, and then also the capability that your people are educated enough to take an action against it, which is exactly the incident response, the last part, identifying those incidents and basically analyzing it, whether it is a specific incident that is actually targeting you or it's a casual incident, and what kind of response you basically need to have on your side. Now, I've already have talked about some industrial growth factor, but yeah, just one more time, the threat landscapes are actually growing. We need to have enhanced visibility, control over the security updates that are coming from third parties or your service providers or your OEMs. There is also a requirement to build a strategy against ransomwares, because ransomwares are the one in last few reports. Continuously, the ransomwares are making their inroads to OT infrastructure, primarily through the IT connectivity. And the capability to have a strong backup strategy so that when ransomware attack happens, you can recover your system fast from the backups is very important. Supply chain risks are also one of the areas we need to have a evaluation on, and then the same IP connected devices exposed to internet might also pose a big threat to the organization. There may be a cybersecurity functional change. We need to actually focus on risk rather than a solutioning. So very often than not, to get a quick value out of the budget investment, organization will get tempted to implement a solution without doing a due risk assessment. That's not a good strategy for ICS, at least. You need to first identify what are the additional risks you are going to introduce when you are implementing a technology, whether it is going to expose some of your infrastructure which was earlier not exposed to the external world or in trusted network. Then there is also requirement of integrating the cybersecurity teams and have a executive level focus on cybersecurity. Now, some of you were already asking the questions in the previous session, the role of AI and also the quantum. Yeah, that is making inroads. AI is a big player for both sides. The attacker and the defender. Defender are using it for better detection capability and response capability. And that is a good news for us, so that we can reduce the detection time and the response time. Cloud infrastructures are also using it. Some of the industrial control systems are also now leveraging the capabilities of cloud, at least for the data analytics part, which gives much more insights into what is happening at the factory floor and what kind of more efficiencies we can introduce. So these kind of application would have a connectivity back to the infrastructure in the factory floor, and monitoring them through AI and the uh, machine learning can actually provide better value proposition. There are more topics which are emerging, like digital twin security modelings, where you can model your entire plant and also test the security beforehand. If some new threats are getting discovered, you can actually do mock drill over your digital twin infrastructure. And the quantum and post-quantum cryptography is also taking inroads. I think already 4+ algorithms are approved by NIST now, and these are the technologies that will getting adopted in few years on the equipment manufacturer side, so that they can actually support these algorithms when the quantum thing will happen. The key drivers for the market is the modernization of the legacy infrastructure. We need to move towards more robust, more modern, more data aware infrastructure, so that we can detect, defend, and prepare ourselves better. And also the regulatory compliance, as I mentioned in the beginning of this discussion, and also the industry 4.0, 5.0 requirements of modernization and take more out of the data from the factory floor. Now, maybe you are already waiting for this section, why to choose OT security and what are the different career levels. There could be, of course, various career levels, and I have put up 5 career levels here for this discussion. Some of the specialized roles that you could focus, and some certifications as well. These certifications are both from the IT or general cybersecurity as well as focused OT security. Based on the roles, you can use them. Some of them are already globally recognized certification. Some of them are not very well recognized, but yeah, they still give you a good base of knowledge in terms of your understanding of ICS. Because in the domain, we require more professionals to come together and design more certification. And one of the biggest problem is, if you don't have a visualization of how an industrial control system or a plant looks like, the theoretical knowledge is not going to help you initially, at least when you're trying to make a career transition. So these efforts that people are putting, in fact, yesterday when you have attended the session by Jakar, he has done a very wonderful job of putting up a infrastructure that helps you understand the industrial control systems in a virtual environment and digital environment. So why choose cybersecurity? There is a very high demand across the critical infrastructures because of these regulations, the threat landscapes are evolving, and so on and so forth. There is a requirement of experts who are understanding cybersecurity and industrial expertise, and currently those kind of talent is not readily available. Either there are people who have started their career in IT security are there, or the people who are generally automation engineers and industrial control system engineers, they are available. So the demand is high. Last 5+ years, I have seen many people are mixing up, coming up from IT to OT security, or from core OT to getting into cybersecurity. That is happening, and that's a good thing for industry. This is a one area that will tend to grow in coming years, and we see very good value proposition in terms of career growth and other things. Since there are direct impact on the critical infrastructure, we would going to see a very good requirement, and if not by themselves, the regulation will spur these organizations to hire more talented people. There is also one good value proposition of choosing OT security. I think one of the area which I enjoy, there is a continuous learning and technological evolution. So you go to a metal production plant, then you will go to a defense manufacturing plant, and then you go to a cement manufacturing plant, or maybe a pharmaceutical. Everywhere your experience will be different in terms of the technologies, the generation of the technology, the type of technology, and of course the people that you will meet. So the continuous learning through your cultural exchange, through your technological exchange, through your field experience, going to be much more enriched, and I think this is one thing that I really enjoy. Leadership opportunities are also emerging in the field. More and more leaders, people like Currently, I don't see that lot of arguments are happening that chief operational technology security officer instead of CISO, there should be COSO. Those kind of arguments are there, but I don't see that is happening in near future at least. But of course, there would be roles of OT security leader in these entities and organization, which will be a very good leadership roles that you could enjoy moving forward. So yeah, what does this mean for different roles? There could be entry-level roles, 0 to 2 years, and these roles basically will have the roles like ICS technician, security operations center analysis for OT, OT security analyst. The basic understanding you require is the understanding of the industrial protocols, understanding of cybersecurity, and some of the certification that you can initially from the beginning of your career you can think of is CompTIA Security Plus. It's a very good security certification, has much more value according to me compared to the other basic or the beginner level certification available. Then there is also Network Plus, which will give you a basic understanding of the networking as well as the security with Security Plus. The junior level 2 to 4 years, OT security specialist, SCADA security specialist, there are certification like GICSP, very, very highly valued certification in the industry. There are also certification control system operational professional. This is not a globally recognized certificate, but there is one organization in ICS Cyber. They basically do this kind of certification. Then mid-career level, you require to have understanding as an architect designing and the capability to assess cybersecurity of the organization. You can basically focus IEC 62443 specialized certification. CISSP is also helpful, which will give you an overall understanding of the cybersecurity life cycle. And then vendor specific certifications are also available, which might be sometime helpful. Like if you're playing an OT security engineer role, then you might have understanding of Clarity, Nozomi, Tenable, Fortinet, Palo Alto, Siemens specific certification. Those kind of certification can also be helpful. Senior level, leadership levels options are also there. This kind of certifications like CISA, CSM, CISSP, they might be helpful. You will be a OT security manager. You can also do a Science Grid certification or Sense manager training, which is a 2-day training, something like that. The program management, the OT risk management director, or as I mentioned, OT cybersecurity leader, those kind of roles are also possible. Some of the entities are also already recruiting people which are CISO level, but they have OT security focus. These people could be VP for OT security or director for OT security, global OT security lead, where you will be responsible for overall OT security management for maybe the entire group itself. And these kind of roles are generally depends on your experience, but I see more towards 15 to 20 year plus. Globally, I also seen some people which are 12 to 15 year plus in these roles. But yeah, these are the 5 different level of roles that are available in OT security currently. Mostly these roles lie into 4 to 5 years and 7 to 12 years. But yeah, slowly we'll see that more and more people coming in the industry and then having these roles. Hope this clarifies what kind of a skill you can target for being into OT security. You would require, of course, both technical skills as well as some business skills. Industrial protocol understanding, Modbus, DNP3, IEC 61850, Ethernet IP, Profinet, these kind of protocols. Understanding the conceptual things like network segmentation, industrial firewall, security assessment methodology, vulnerability assessment, detection techniques, what you detect, where you detect, how you detect. Specific systems like SCADA, DCS, PLC, HMI, Historian. And then, of course, you would need also some business skills like threat modeling, business impact analysis, risk assessment, understanding of the regulation and the compliance framework. How would you manage different people, the vendor management, your bringing the people from the factory floor together, understanding the cross-functional collaboration through your third-party vendors, also your IT security teams and the operation team at the plant. And then, of course, on the management side, the capabilities to implement the plan, security program development, and handling the budget as well. How would you actually argue with your organization to support with the budget? Maybe now it's a time to have a quick poll once again. Let me quickly take your response, and then maybe possibly we'll jump to the final section where we'll discuss the questions and quiz. Okay, so I see 76% of you have voted, and the most of you are into the entry level part of the career progression. Hope you are able to see the results. Yeah, great. Okay, so my final word, possibly what you should do as if you are attending this for your organization already into security and want to implement with the regulation part. That's like you basically can start with the initial risk assessment through understanding the inventory, network segmentation, also having a program for incident response. One good strategy is to use this standard to do gap analysis and then make a initially short-term plan to have the capabilities of monitoring, giving training to your staff, access control strategies, and also possibly establishing a relationship with vendors which can support you for the incidents. Then basically you can also target implementing one specific standard of compliance. If you are already having ISO, you can also expand the ISO and then get your infrastructure certified. In India, all the utilities are required to have ISO 27001 certification for their facility. So that is the reason that I put that you can actually put up a plan for certification as well. Also, you can put up threat detection capabilities or analysis capabilities, the governance frameworks in long term. If you are attending as transition of the career, some of the things that you could start with learning the ICS protocols, targeting the basic level certification. Don't invest too much in the beginning of the career. Like some of the people get tempted to do the certification which are very costly. I was not a big fan of that investment. First find either an internship opportunity or a hands-on opportunity, and then possibly you can invest on that part. There are good amount of resource now available through those talks or discussions uh, or possibly blogs that you can leverage to understand the protocols, get a basic certification like Security Plus, or maybe an 8-hour course available online could also be helpful. Then gaining a hands-on experience in the internship opportunity will be much more better than getting a IEC 62443 certificate or any other things. Join these professional association and communities. There are a lot of tech talks generally organized, and That will be really helpful. Quick learning, somebody's experience getting shared with you in very less time. So yeah, that is also a good quick hack to get your journey into OT security. Also, if you later want in the career advancement, you can pursue certification like GICSP, IC 62443 specific certification. Also develop some learnings. Don't be too focused on the technical part. You need to understand the business functions as well, so that when you are interviewing, you are able to answer with the perspective of the leaders, not only the operators or engineers. There are also some good opportunities by some of the leaders. I think Suleiman would be happy to do this. I would be happy to do this. If you need some help on mentorship on basically understanding how this looks like, I can actually reach out to us and we'll be happy to do it. In fact, Rakesh will also be doing this. In fact, this initiative is all about giving you mentorship and opportunity discussion. Also staying current with the landscape development, what kind of new threats are emerging and how we can design these defenses is one of the quick hack that you could use to target specific roles, specific opportunities, and make the career transition. Okay, so now we will take quick questions. I'll try to take some question. Maybe Rakesh, would you help me with this? I see many questions are there.
Are you able to see the question tab?
Yes,
Right side.
I'm able to. Yeah.
So
Okay, but I think the questions are mixed from the previous session. So where should I start?
yes, you can start 7 onwards, 7 p.m. onwards.
Okay.
The future, or maybe you can try it from the latest one as you wish.
Okay, so I see one question on what is the best way to practicing and learning standard, as I am new to OT security, training to move from IT security to OT. So yeah, standard, I think standard, your knowledge about standard, like what is the standard, what are different sections, should be sufficient enough for your initial getting into OT security. You don't need to go through the entire requirement specification of the standard. Most of the interviews will only ask, are you familiar with this? And then what is the standard, what sections are applicable? So IEC 62443 being the gold standard, a good literature is available through ISA GCA resources, and also some of the session that I do at OT Security Huddle. They are specifically focused on IEC 62443. You can go and watch some recordings, and also maybe some more videos are available. If you are still really interested to go through the standard, you can become ISA's member. An ISA member will get free access to the standard. Some of the standards like 2-1, 3-3, 4-2, 4-1, and also 3-2. These standards are available to you as a free resource. You can go through the standard and watch them. Then, okay. How should the asset owner prioritize risk when dealing with legacy system that cannot be easily patched or upgraded? So one of the strategy for the legacy system is first identification, what is your legacy asset or system, and then actually putting them into separate zone altogether. So that is your first step, keeping them into a separate zone and then documenting what are the possible risks and what you cannot do. Then once you have put it up, then some of the strategy is the passive monitoring and physical security that could work well for your legacy elements. Of course, there could be other strategies, but yeah, these are the few quick ones that I could maybe quickly tell you. Okay. How mature are the growth drivers? Say legacy system modernization. I see the major OT vendors are struggling to modernize the legacy system and the decade-long install base, but haven't embodied the cybersecurity solution within. Okay, so yeah, this is one of the part that cybersecurity being the shared responsibility. How I interpret your question is basically even though possibly the organizations or asset owners will modernize their system, but what if this during this upgrade itself they fail to implement the cyber secure installation? This will again be 10 to 15 year of life cycle, and they will actually lose on that time. So yeah, being a shared responsibility, all the stakeholders need to put up the effort. Organization need to put up a cybersecurity program and ask for cybersecurity solution, do the risk assessment themselves, and then do a cybersecurity fat and set test while they are upgrading. And that's how they should take it up. It is not only the responsibility of the system provider or the asset implementer, but also the organization itself. Okay, I think we observed these certification like IEC 62443 or GICSP are very expensive. Is there any certificate which is in budget? Unfortunately, not. IEC 62443 GICSP are two certification which are very well recognized globally, but yeah, they come with a very good cost. So if you are actually looking for certification only, I think the better value that you'll get is with GICSP. It is a challenge exam available. You can prepare for yourself and appear for the exam. 62443 on the other side, you need to go through the official training and then appear for the exam. So yeah, it would require you to do the official training with at least $2,000+ for each certificate. And also it's like a 4 certification series. You need to do all of them to be as expert over there. Okay. So I see there are a lot of experience specific questions. Maybe those are already answered in the slide deck, what kind of career opportunities you could have. Let me take one more question. We are already, I think, have some time, but reaching out to the end. What is the cybersecurity architect? Is it technical, sales, proposal? Yeah, so cybersecurity architect role is a technical role where a new solution is actually coming up. The architect will support the solution architect with cybersecurity a part of it. So solution architect will design the first cut, and then the cybersecurity architect will support in terms of where the network should be segmented, the zone should be segmented, what kind of security requirement should be there, according to, of course, the specification being asked by the organization which are buying the solution. Okay.
There is one interesting question, Shiv. Someone is asking, having experience 15 years in ICT and then moving to OT cybersecurity with experience of zero, is it like a career restart, or what's your
Yeah,
opinion?
so very, very interesting question. And then I was having my boot camp just 2 days ago, and this is one question that we have discussed over there. So first of all, passion does not have any expiry. You can start your passion anytime you want. But this is also have a practical aspect over here. Like I'm being in ICT, 15 years of experience, and then I'm getting into cybersecurity. What kind of role I can expect as a career transition? So this is a skewed area. You might find really good opportunities based on the geography you are targeting, and you might also have challenge in terms of restarting from zero. So if you are in the Western world, even if you are starting as a beginner, your compensations will be really good. But if you start on the developing world, your compensation could be a challenge and you might get demotivated. So make that choice very, very wisely. And that's why I say that for these kind of people who are already having this experience, a lateral movement within the same organization makes much more sense than directly targeting a role outside of the same organization. So yeah, there are opportunities sometimes available where in the same organization you can show your passion. Maybe for initial 5-6 months you work and learn these skills, and then reach out to the leaders in the same area and then try to find out if there are lateral opportunities available. Starting outside would be a challenge and could be a restart.
Thank you, Shit.
Okay, do you offer any mentor-mentee program or guidance opportunity for newcomers? Yes, we do. We also take some, open batches. Possibly will come next month. Me along with few other industry professionals, we take around 25 to 30 people, and then for 6 month long duration, we try to help them for this learning and the transition journey, finding a successful role. Yeah, so we do that. You can watch out for my LinkedIn post when we have this next time. Okay, could you please recommend some good resource to learn about asset inventory? Okay, so asset inventory, basically, what is your expectation here? I'm not clear, but if your question is about how to build an asset inventory, already I think there are a good amount of resource I have put up on LinkedIn. We discussed in one of the OT huddle session as well. What are the strategies that works well for creating the asset inventory, your active, passive, your manual methods. And then, of course, there are some solutions like OT-base, Clarity, Nozomi, Tenable. These solutions also provide passive network-based asset inventory. So maybe you can just quickly find out my LinkedIn post on asset inventory, and also maybe some post by few of other thought leaders. I think good amount of information is already available in asset inventory at least. Okay. I have 10 years in railway signaling and communication and some exposure to OT. How can I move ahead in this field? So railway is a very, very niche area, and very, very good opportunities are actually coming in railway security. So it could be a good move if you move to, you already have mentioned that you have understanding of signaling, communication, and OT. There are two companies, Silas and Sensonic. Reach out to these companies, and if they have some role available, they would basically will be happy to people into that. These guys who are into railway security focused companies, they would like more people having the railway understanding and then cybersecurity basic understanding. So it is slightly better position in terms of the other focus role. That's my recommendation there. Okay. Are there any standards or mandates legally as well, like IT Act and amendments in India, or being developed for OT security for any sector, including critical infrastructure? So there are two initiatives currently for India. One is the regulation for power sector, which is already approved but yet not notified. It will come out very soon. Currently, it is in the guideline stage. And being a guideline also, the utilities are required to follow that. Once it becomes regulation, then it will of course have other requirements also being put up. One of the requirement is training the people across the entity. The second initiative, which is already a released document, is a cybersecurity framework for critical infrastructure by a joint exercise by Quality Council of India, NCA ECC, and Center for Electricity Authority. There are three different level of documentation and certification scheme. Currently, it's a voluntary document released to public, but eventually I see it's in a very good roadmap to possibly later be notified as a regulation for critical infrastructure as well. You can basically search QCI's website and find out these frameworks. Okay. why IT people are joining OT cybersecurity platform when they does not know about OT systems, but organization hiring them. Yeah, so see, this is like basically the the fitment of the role. Sometimes what happens is in the organization they require somebody who understands much more cybersecurity than the OT part as well. So there may be a 5 people team. Other people are more towards understanding of OT, and one person can actually complement well. So those kind of fitments might happen, uh, and that's how they are getting it up. But slowly, I see that recognition of understanding of OT infrastructure is gaining the traction. The big fours are actually asking it. There was good amount of hiring in last few months about people understanding OT in big fours and other consulting companies. Utilities, of course, are another area where you can actually look for. In India, getting into utilities is difficult. They hire into a specific mode. So they don't hire cybersecurity professionals. They will hire general people, and later on they can get into cybersecurity. But yeah, the corporate world have good amount of opportunities.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
Yeah,
Shiv,
maybe.
it seems
Yeah.
that we will need one more hour.
Yeah.
So let's have one more
Mm.
session in coming time. Everyone, please give us a thumbs up if you need one more hour session with Shiv in coming weeks. If I see 100 thumbs up, then okay, you can see the thumbs up, Shiv.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So we'll need one
Of
more hour
course.
in coming
Yes.
month,
Yes. Yes.
and that will be particularly dedicated for the career advice. And I think thanks to OT Huddle, you have already taken the initiative. So people, you can also follow OT Huddle. Many of you already been following.
Now, in fact,
Start following
I
them.
am able to recognize some of the people who are the regular followers of OT security huddle. Um, some of them I have seen in my sessions already. So yeah, I see that there is a good amount of significant number of people who are taking OT security career as a serious career move, and that is what I'm really happy about. And also maybe before I come with your final notes, Rakesh, really happy with this initiative, and also putting up 4 different experts from 4 different fields. It really makes sense to give an overview of different areas and perspective. And I think this is helpful to the people and bring more people into community. That of course there are multiple facets in career, multiple facets in opportunities that you can target in cybersecurity. One of the biggest problem that I see in the industry is like, at least with the beginner side, most of the people think the cybersecurity is about hacking, but that's not the only field in cybersecurity. In fact, the more money or more highly paid jobs are not of hacking job, but the other areas of cybersecurity. So you should understand the spectrum of cybersecurity and don't see with that smaller lens as hacking only. So great initiative, and I'm always there to support and uh, take another session. Let me know how could I help, and best of luck with this.
Thank you so much, Shiv. Thank you, friends, for making this a successful session. There are some briefing which will be now given by my colleague Mimuna. Mimuna, over to you. With this, I'll sign off now.
Thank you everyone for joining. I have few instruction before we close this session. Right after this session, you will receive. One second, let me share my screen. So right after the session, you will see a survey, but the key is that you have to wait a few seconds before shutting down this window, which you are currently viewing the session from. The once you see the survey, fill out the 10 questions. These are multiple choice questions which you can answer like in like 5 to 10 seconds. Based on your result, we will disseminate the certificate which you can see on the screen. It will be signed by all our trainers, and once you receive the certificate, and if you are not following our ICE LinkedIn page, I encourage you to go and follow our Institute of Cybersecurity Excellence LinkedIn page. It will have more updates coming along on our future trainings and courses we are going to run. And please don't forget tag ICS, Institute of Cybersecurity Excellence, when you share your certificate. And I hope to see you again in our coming session. See you. Bye.